And guys, we're back now. I'm going to speak about Chelsea. A few weeks ago, I think I said to my brother that, "Wow, look at this Chelsea team. I think that they have the best overall squad in the Premier League, and this squad will go on to win the next, go on to challenge and win multiple titles in the coming years." But recently for Chelsea, it's been a bit dull. Last five games, managed to only win one, lost lost three, and drew a game against Aston Villa yesterday that probably could have went either way. Aston Villa hit the post late on in the game and probably could have nicked it. And Chelsea from almost going second, in the in the Premier League, they're now sixth place, Jack. And what is
hmm
going on with this Chelsea team? For all that money spent in the summer, what do you think is a problem?
Well, so I think the money you bring up a good starting point there with the money. Like when you start a new job, any other normal job, you got colleagues, work colleagues that you got to get to know. You got to know what they like, what football team do they support, what's their favorite beer, whatever. What's your favorite TV show, all that kind of stuff, and you build those relationships. It's the same with football. You got to build the relationships. Um, I think Frank Lampard really in recent comments has really hit the nail on the head, and that is that I think the Chelsea team looked at themselves, looked where they were on the table, and thought, "Huh, we're actually pretty good. We're actually pretty good." And the moment you adopt that mindset of, "Oh, we're actually pretty good," is when you start to fall off. I think we looked at that Tottenham game where we thought, "Oh, this is kind of a tricky one. Tottenham are playing well. We want to make sure that we don't lose the game because then we look bad." So the 0-0, I think we thought was okay. Then obviously you got the game against Leeds that was good, but then that Everton game kind of had them a little bit shook, I think. I know it was a Sigurdsson penalty, but Everton and Carlo Ancelotti, there was a certain level of experience there that led them to beating that Frank Lampard, that more inexperienced team. And I just wonder if they've been believing their own hype a little bit, and the cracks start to appear a little bit more. I look at Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva's been a fantastic signing. I'm not trying to say that he hasn't been, but that's not going to be your guy for the next 5 years. That's a stopgap for this year and maybe next year. Another guy still needs to go in. I don't love Eduard Mendy. I know everyone seems to be in love with him now, but I think that's probably because he's just so much better than Aritza Balaga. Um, and I think there are things to figure out here. Timo Werner is operating out wide. He's not a winger. Timo Werner is a striker. He can be a channel striker, but he needs to start playing more centrally. Uh, you know, Everything's all rosy and people don't talk about it when you're winning games, but when you start drawing games, losing games, all those little cracks, you can start having those conversations.
Um, it's interesting because I think there's a stat here that Chelsea haven't beaten the team above them this season, and I'm actually looking at the top nine. I don't think Chelsea have beaten any one of them this season, and that seems to be like the biggest thing. They're really struggling against the top side, but I just want to take it back like you look at the past five games for Chelsea. In prior to West Ham game, which they were fortunate to be fair. I think they scored two goals late on, and
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a disallowed Declan Rice goal could have changed the scoreline there. But I have two things to mention: the number 10 row, the creativity. Where is that coming from for Chelsea? Because Mason Mount, I think he's doing a great job. And Golo Kante, that's never really been his role. But Kai Havertz, when you pay all that money for him, I understand he's young, and for me, I have a lot of time for the guy. He's only 21 years of age. He will grow into it, but you need something from him. Like generally, Jack, when I
Yep.
watch him, it seems like he's like a little boy on a big pitch, and he has no clue what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like under 15s playing the under 21s game, and like he's not really up for it. He's quite shook seeing all all the big guys there. Even when I see him receive the ball at times, I'm seeing him giving away cheaply. Doesn't look he doesn't look the same guy that he was in Germany. Not
One,
everyone watches German football, but in
one thing I
Germany
was
he was the man.
One thing I'll say just quickly is that Leverkusen team, when they realised how good he was, they did start playing with him in mind. So they started putting him in positions where he can succeed, he can play well, do that kind of thing. That's not Frank Lampard's game. Frank Lampard plays as a team. Frank Lampard plays with that kind of unit kind of mentality. And I think that, he's not going to get those silver platter, oh, here you go, just do whatever you want anymore. He's going to have to be a part of this system that Frank wants to play.
I understand that, but Kai Havertz is basically like a Frank Lampard. And Frank Lampard, maybe in the 2010 when he adopted the number 10 role, where like he could get closer to Didier Drogba. I feel like that's what Frank wants from Kai Havertz, but he's just not quite doing it. Because Kai Havertz, I think, is the best attribute I could think of Kai Havertz was his ability to get in the box and score goals. And he doesn't seem to do that. And I'm kind of looking at myself that, okay, you were that in Germany, but what are you in the Premier League? Are you a number 10 who picks up little holes? Do you get in the box and score? We need just something to show us that like you are worth the money. And yes, he probably will be in a few years' time. But I also just want to move on to Timo Werner, because now it's the thing of, oh, I've been hearing Chelsea supporters saying we don't want Timo Werner as a winger anymore. We want him as a striker. He looks to be a guy that's just that has no confidence at all. And I think Frank sees that. And especially when teams set up like they are going to set up against Chelsea, the way Everton did, the way Aston Villa did, teams are going to set up in two banks of four. Can you break us down? And Chelsea are going to put crosses in the box. Timo Werner is not a striker that feeds off crosses. That's Olivier Giroud. That's a Tammy Abrahams who, rather you like him or you don't. He suits that system more. It seems like with Timo Werner right now, he's really adapting his role at Chelsea and understanding where he's actually going to fit in right now. Because I'm not sure he actually knows what's going on. Because one-on-one, he's quick, but he doesn't really beat players like that.
Yeah, he's not really a dribbler in that way. And I think what I'll say, just to back up your point that you made there, Tammy Abraham, okay, 8 appearances. He's had 6 off the bench as well. 6 goals. Tammy Abraham is scoring goals. He's not scoring goals like Son or Kane or one of those kind of guys, but he's putting the ball in the net, and you can't justify dropping somebody like Tammy Abraham and having Werner play there. The issue I think I have is, surely you saw this coming. If you're Chelsea, why would you create this problem for yourself? You make the point about having Havertz go in and get into the box and score goals. So now what you probably would want is Werner, whoever you're playing at striker, and Havertz all kind of getting in the box and scoring goals. And I think you and I both know that that's not always going to work. You can't always have all those guys in the box, because you need some width out wide. You need somebody feeding in from a little deeper as well. It's really disappointing. They're going to have to kind of stick with twist with Werner.
My thing right now for Frank Lampard is to cave into the pressure and to do what he knows best. And I feel like that's the most important thing as a manager. You should live and die by your decisions. And I genuinely do believe that. Kai Havertz, Frank Lampard is a fan of Timo Werner, but I don't really see his fit in this Chelsea team right now in what they offer. I think Pulisic is a shoe in there. He's probably Chelsea's best player. He's absolutely fantastic. He's brilliant. And then you look on the opposite wing, you have Callum Hudson-Odoi, and then you have Hakim Ziyech. When Ziyech is fit, I think Ziyech will be the right winger. You have to make a decision who you have up front. But for me, right now, if you're a Chelsea fan, you should want Olivier Giroud as your number 9 and Timo Werner on the bench at this moment of time. Timo Werner might just need to be taken out for a few games. Maybe go against maybe leave him out. They have an FA Cup game coming up against Macclesfield or something like that. Put him in there, and he might get 2 or 3 goals just to get his confidence back. But right now, I don't think he fits in his Chelsea team.
You put him on loan in January.
Timo Werner.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I feel like he would. I feel like he would contribute to the Chelsea team, but I think he might have to do it off the bench for a bit. Because I feel like it's almost. I think Frank is just forcing a way to try to get him in there because he costs a lot of money and because Chelsea fans are excited about him. But if he doesn't fit the system, you might have to take him out.
Because I think the thing that's worrying me is you're saying start Giroud, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I think Giroud is the best number 9 they have at the club right now.
Easily.
But for me, you've got a guy who, what is Giroud, 34, 35?
He's 30, 33, I think turning 34.
You know, there seems to be this disconnect because you don't have like somebody waiting in the wings to come and step in because he's still your best guy. There isn't that natural kind of handover. So you've got somebody you're hoping will reach his prime pretty soon, and he's stuck out wide playing in a position he's relatively unfamiliar with. You know, for Leipzig, Werner was in that half space where he could then make like diagonal runs to the goal from passes from midfield. Whereas now he's stuck out wide, like you said. The only thing he can do to beat a man is with pace. And we're not talking about Adama Traore here. We're talking about a guy who is kind of above average speed for a Premier League forward. So, you know, he's kind of lost out wide.
I understand you there, but you also have to look at the way teams set up in Germany and England. Teams ain't gonna leave that amount of space to run in behind in England, you know? Teams, especially when you play against Chelsea. And I think it's Timo Werner, he needs to learn how to be adapt and be a bit more cute. It's not always all about running in behind because you're not going to get that space a lot. You're not going to play against your Man Cities every week where you're going to see the space in behind. You're going to go against your West Broms, your Brightons, where it's going to be a bit more tough in there. And he, as a player, needs to adapt. But guys, tell me what you think. What's going on with Chelsea right now? Frank Lampard in, Frank Lampard out. I think it's crazy for me, them talking about that already. Diego Costa, interesting enough, just got released by Atletico Madrid. Chelsea fans, would you take him back? What do Chelsea need to do to get back into the top four or like even challenge for the Premier League? Comments down below, Chelsea fans. Let us know what you think. Box to Box Football, and we will see you next time.